In this video, I'm going to show you how to use ChatGPT and automation to automatically transcribe your video content and turn that into text for social media posts, or to create descriptions for your video content on social media or on YouTube. Let's do this. So I am going to show you this process step by step. We're going to start from the beginning. I'm going to use Airtable, Google Drive, and Zapier and ChatGPT to build a complete solution. So by the end of this video, you will have a working version that you can use in your own workflow. Let's do this. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to give away all the resources, the Airtable database, the Zaps, everything that I use to create this in a free mini course. You can find that course in my new community linked below in the description of this YouTube video. Make sure to check it out, and I will see you in the community and enjoy the free course. So I'm in my Airtable account now. If you don't have one, you're going to want to create one, and I'm just going to add a new base for this. If you're new to Airtable, there's some getting started stuff. I'm going to go ahead and skip over that. I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to come up here and just name this ChatGPT Automation Project. And then I'm going to go ahead and set up this table as I need it. I'm going to go ahead and do something that I normally do. I'm going to edit this into an auto incrementing field. I'm going to go ahead and call it the ID. And you'll see why I do some of this stuff later. I'm going to rename this to the CID just so we can have a unique ID down the line when we need it. I'm going to use a formula. I will say C and then concatenate the ID. So every time we create a row, we're going to get a CID here. There's a few other things I'm probably going to need. I'll change this as we go, but we'll need the file name of the incoming file. I'm going to call that a single line text. And then I'm going to need a folder URL for where we actually store the video when we upload it to Google Drive. So I'll rename this to folder URL, and then I'll update this to be a URL. And then I'm going to need a link to the media. So I'll say media URL. And then I'm also going to need a link to the document that we create for the transcription, where we're going to create the transcription and then ultimately use ChatGPT to convert that into a social media post. I'll just call it the post document URL, or we might just call it the copy document URL. Really up to you on how you want to name that. So the next thing you'll need to do is to build out a basic Google Drive structure. I already built this out in a previous video. The basics of it is that I always have an inbox where I can upload new videos. This is the video that we want to automatically transcribe and use ChatGPT to take that transcription and create a social media post from it. And then I also create a folder here which allows me to hold all the processed videos. I'm going to go ahead and delete this from a previous example here and trash that so that when we can start from scratch. But you'll want to create these two folders, inbox and processed. And then as you build this out, if you want to structure it a bit different for your own use case, that's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and use this, and you'll see how I use it as I go here. So then I'm going to jump over to Zapier. If you don't have an account, go ahead and create one. I'm going to start from scratch. This is where I have a lot of my YouTube demo Zaps. I'm going to turn this one off and just start from scratch. The first thing that we really want to do is to start to process a file that comes into Google Drive. We're going to want to get that into Airtable. We're going to want to get some basic data from that, and we're going to want to store that so then we can use it later in the process when we start to build out transcriptions, and then we start to use ChatGPT to create something from that. So you're going to want to go ahead and create a new Zap. I'm going to click that now. And the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to create a Google Drive automation, and we're going to say, we're looking for a new file in a folder. And remember, that file is going to be in this inbox. I'm going to drag and drop a file into this inbox, and then we'll be able to start to process it. So new file in folder, go ahead and continue. You're going to go ahead and select your Google Drive account. If you don't have one, it's going to ask you to connect one just like this. Go ahead and select that drive, continue forward. It's going to ask you which drive you want to use. I'm going to say my Google Drive. And then this is where I get to select the folder. I'm going to navigate my Google Drive to find this YouTube demo in this inbox because this is the one that I want to process. You might have a slightly different structure. Just pay attention to that as you go so that you can find your way. I'm also going to take a quick second here to just name this Zap process G Drive inbox for ChatGPT. We'll pick the drive, and now I'll go ahead and pick the folder. So here's that YouTube demo folder. I'm going to go inside of that. Actually, I need to pick the inbox here, then I'll go ahead and continue. So now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is just upload a file directly here so I can actually test this trigger as I go through the process. So then what I'll do is I'll just take this test video for the YouTube demo and I'll go ahead and drop that in there. I'll give it a second to upload. You'll see it uploading down here. And then once that's been uploaded, give it just a second and then come back over to your Google Drive trigger here and go ahead and just test that trigger, clicking this button here. What you're gonna find is that sometimes when you test the trigger the first time, it doesn't fire. So go ahead and just test it again. And you'll see that it found a new file. If I just scroll through here, I can just confirm that it's the right video file. You'll notice that Zapier brings in all this metadata, which you can use further down the process, and you'll see us using that. So just take a quick look at all this data that we were able to get, and then I'm also able to confirm that this is the test video for the YouTube demo. And so I know this is successful, so I can go ahead and say continue and move along with the process. So now I'm here at the second action, and I can go ahead and do what I need to do. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just create the Airtable row. That way I have a spot for that video file to process it and to do all the other things that I need to do, like create a document. I can link all that stuff up. And I also want to create that Airtable row now because I'd really like to have this CID that I can use later down in the process for naming different things. And so I will go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna jump back to Zapier and I'm gonna create that Airtable row. I'm gonna go to Airtable and I'm gonna say create row or create record. Go ahead and move forward. Then you'll wanna select the Airtable account that you want to use. In this case, I'm gonna use this one. And then you're gonna wanna select the base. In this case, I created ChatGPT automation project. So you'll want to look for that. So when I open this up, it's gonna bring a list of my projects. I can actually search here, GPT, and then I can see my ChatGPT automation project. I'll go ahead and click that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and pick the table. We only have one table. And in this case, all I want to do right now is just to create the row. So I'm not gonna actually enter anything in here. You'll see these are all the fields that we entered in on this side. So Zapier pulled that up and was able to figure all that stuff out. If I wanted to, I could put some of this information in. In fact, I do have some of it, so why don't I just go ahead and enter it. The file name is just gonna be the title of the video. We have the media URL, so I'll go ahead and add that in as well. For this, you're gonna wanna use the alternate link. This is the best one to use. So go ahead and click that. And then everything else we don't really have yet, so I'm gonna start with that. I'm gonna click continue. I'm gonna test the action. We should see a new row created over here, and we've got the file name and the media URL added as we expect. So now we've completed that step, so I'll go ahead and close it, and now we have to go on to the next step. So the next few things that we need to build out is we need to build a folder to store the original file, and we also need to have that folder to store the documents and a few other files that we might create along the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and build that out quickly, and then from there, we can start to build the transcription and trigger that process. And then from there, we can build out the rest of the ChatGPT automation. So like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and create a folder to store all this information in. And the reason why I created this folder after creating the row is because I wanted that CID so that I could name the folder with that CID. And so now that I have that, I can go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna go back to Google Drive. I am going to create that folder. You gotta go through the process of picking your drive, quickly do all that stuff again. And in this case, the parent folder is going to be this processed folder here. So I'm gonna pick that, and I'm gonna pick the YouTube demo. I'm gonna go with there, and then I'm gonna pick processed. So now I've got that as the process, and now I'm gonna say the folder name is, now again, like if we look at the previous step here. So this is step 2, and now we're gonna have all the data from that step. So you see here we have the CID, I can click that, and now it's gonna be able to create that folder for us in that processed area with that ID. I'm gonna click continue, I'm gonna test that action, and if I jump back over into processed, we now have that C4, and we have the C4, so we're in good shape. So now the next thing I need to do is I really need to go back to this inbox and move this file, this video, into that folder. So we'll go ahead and do that. We will move a file to keep going through these different steps here. Once you do this a bunch of times, it'll become second nature. In this case, I'm not picking a specific file, a hard-coded file. I'm using the file that was in that first step. So you wanna jump over to custom here, go to the file, the new file and folder, and then you're gonna wanna look for the ID here. So we have that ID, and then you're gonna pick the drive. You're gonna go through this same process here. I'm my Google Drive. And then for the folder, again, we don't want to hard code anything. We want to dynamically pick the folder that we created in step 3 here. So we'll come down here, we'll click on this. Again, we're going to go to custom, click custom. Then we're going to go to this third step here, click that, and we're going to pick that ID. And now if we go click forward, we can test the action. And we should see that file disappear from the inbox. And if we jump over to process, we can go into C4. And now we see that file over there. So now we're really able to just test the process as we go. This is an important process of building these zaps, is you want to build them and test them as you go. And now that we've moved it, that's successful. Now, one thing that I want to do here is that, remember, we created a spot to store the folder URL. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to update this row now and just update it with some of that data that we now have, because we didn't have this folder there in the first place, so now we need to just do a quick update on that row and complete that so we have it. I'm going to go to Airtable, the latest, update record. And now in this case, again, we don't want to hard code anything. I'm going to pick the Airtable account, and then the base again, I'm going to type GPT. Have this here, pick the table. Now the record here is going to be, again, it's going to be custom. We're not hard coding anything. We want to use the record that we created in step 2, so I'm going to click custom. Then I'm going to come down here, pick that record ID, and then we entered in some of this information before. We don't have this yet. This is what we're going to create after we create the transcription. But I do have that folder URL now, so I'm going to go ahead and click into here. I'm going to go to that step where we created the folder, and I'm going to go down to alternate link. Again, here, this is the best one to use. I'll go ahead and click continue, test action. And now what we should see is this folder URL pop in, and there we go. So now we have this completed row here aside from our transcription. And if I click this, it's going to take me directly to that folder. If I click this, it's going to take me directly to the video, and we're in pretty good shape here. So let's continue forward. So now at this stage of the process, what we need to do is to create the transcription of the video. And then once we have the transcription, then we can take that transcription and send it to ChatGPT so it can clean it up and turn it into a social media post that we can post, or a description for a video itself. Because the video that I took here in this particular case, it happens to be a clip from a podcast. And so it's not a concise idea. If you just took the transcription alone, it would look pretty weird if you posted that to social media. We'll take a quick look at what that looks like, but we'll use ChatGPT to clean it up and to make it useful. And then we can take a final pass at that ChatGPT version if we'd like to, before we actually post it to social media. So I'm going to be using a program called Descript to create my transcription. You can use anything that you want, but I'm going to use Descript. And in order to use Descript, unfortunately, the API forces us to send them a WAV file. So before I can send that to them, I do need to create a WAV file. If you're using a different transcription service, you might be able to just send them a video. In that case, the next few steps will be a little bit more simple, but if you're going to use Descript, you're going to have to go through these steps. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll get through this quickly. So the next thing I'm going to use a platform called Cloud Convert. So what this platform lets me do is to take a video file, I can send it to them, and they'll send me back a WAV file, which is pretty cool. And they do a bunch of other different types of conversions, so it's a good thing to know about. Let's go ahead and keep going. So I'm going to convert a file. In this case, the file that I want to convert is this original one that we triggered off of in the beginning. So just keep moving. I already have this connected here. I'm going to go to Cloud Convert. If you don't have this yet, you'll need to create an account. They do have a free version that includes some free minutes for conversions, which is handy. Go ahead and keep moving forward. Right here, we're going to pick the file. So in this case, you have to be real careful here. You need to pick this file. It's going to say exists but not shown. This is the actual file that you want to add here. Go ahead and click that. You're going to pick the output format. We're going to pick WAV. Input format. In this case, it's a MP4. Go ahead and do a search here, MP4, and then we can pick a file name if we want to. I don't think we need to in this case. We're going to want to make sure to wait and not move forward in the automation until that is done. Looks like there's an optional tag here. I don't think you need to worry too much about that. And these two things should be fine. We don't need to change the volume or the channels, the sample rate, or do any trimming. So that should be good. I'm going to go ahead and just continue forward here. And then I'm going to test this action. All right, so that succeeded, and you'll see here that they also provided a URL where we can download that file. That's great. So I'm going to go ahead and continue forward. Now what we need to do is actually download that file. We're going to download it into the C4 directory so that we can then use it to request a transcription. Let's go ahead and keep moving here. I'm going to add another one. So now we're going to add another Google Drive automation. In this case, we're going to upload a file. Keep moving. Got to select that drive again, Google Drive. And in this case, the folder that we want to upload to was the one that we created here. So in step 3, so we're going to use that ID. Convert to document. You don't want to do that. File name. I'm going to go ahead and use the CID again. And you can see why I created that early, because we need that over and over again. I believe if I leave just this, it's going to go ahead and create that with the wave. But just to be sure, oh, look at here. Okay. So we can leave that. And the extension, we can just put wave. Oh, and we need the file. So in this case, we need to go to convert or cloud convert. And we have the URL right here, so I can grab that. Now let's go ahead and test this, see if that works. Ultimately, we should see a WAV file show up here, and there it is. So now we've got the WAV file. And now that we have that, we can take the final step and ask Descript to transcribe this for us. So I will move forward. I will go to Descript. Now I'm using Descript because we use this in a lot of other ways. We pick our clips from here, and so it offers a transcription service. So that's why we do it through Descript, but there's a lot of other services that you could use. I'm going to request that transcript. I got to pick an account, file URL. In this case, I'm going to use the file that we just uploaded here. We need to give them that WAV file. So I'm going to give them that. Remember, again, here, just to reiterate, I want to make sure that this is clear. I'm using this file here, exists but not shown. So you want to use that. File name. I'm going to go ahead and name it. I'm just going to stay consistent and use this C4 here. I don't think I really have to add a project. I do have to add a drive. This is the drive that we use in Descript. I can go ahead and click continue, and then I can go ahead and test action. If I did this right, this will actually trigger a transcript in Descript. So now you can see here, I just opened Descript, and you're going to see this C4 here. So we know it successfully got up to Descript, and that really finalizes this portion of the process. We have now uploaded it. We've created everything we need to create. We've converted it to a WAV file, and then we've actually created the transcript. And now we've actually triggered the transcript to be created. Now what we need to do is actually wait for that transcript to be completed. And then when that transcript is complete, we will be able to trigger a new Zapier process to finish the job and get that transcription and use ChatGPT to convert it into a readable post or a description for the video itself. And so we'll start to build that out next. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a look at that second part of the process. Oh, and by the way, now that we've finished this, we can go ahead and publish this Zap, publish and turn on. And now I can go back to the folder and we can create the next Zap that we need to create. So in this case, I'm gonna create another Zap right here. And in this case, we're gonna wanna trigger off of a new transcript that is showing up in Descript. So I will type Descript. And then in this case, I want to trigger off of a new transcript is ready. Go ahead and continue. You're going to pick the account just like we did before. Go ahead and click continue. I'm going to go ahead and test the trigger. Again, remember, sometimes you have to test that trigger a couple times. So it found the transcription, and what you're going to have to do here is I'm transcribing a lot of different videos, so I have to sort through and find the one that we are talking about, which was the C4. Sometimes you have to sift through a few different transcription that happened here. Sometimes you have to do a load more to find the one that you're looking for. There we go. There's the C4 that I was looking for. We're going to go ahead and continue with that transcription. So now I think we're actually at a spot where we can use ChatGPT to start to create the social media post from that transcription. So let's go ahead and type open API. There it is, ChatGPT. So now in terms of the events, I think what we want to do is we want to send a prompt. So this is where we can send it a question. We can move forward. I happen to already have created an account and set that up and gotten the API key. If you haven't done that, you're going to want to create a new account. You're going to want to create an API key and connect that together. It'll show you exactly how to do that if you need to. Go ahead and select that. Keep moving forward. So there's a few different models here. You can play around with these different things. I'm going to spend a little less time playing with ChatGPT in this example and really more show you how to use it. So what I'm going to do is just tell it to convert that transcription into a social media post, and then I can put 2 quotes, and then I can come back here and I can actually fill that with the data that we got in step 1. So here we can see the transcribed text. We can put that here. And there's different things you can play around with in terms of how you want ChatGPT to operate. In this case, again, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I really just want to run this and complete the process. And then you can always come back and experiment with the prompt. What I suggest you do is actually going to the ChatGPT web version, playing with the prompt, getting the prompt that you want, and then coming back to the automation and dialing that in here. And that's probably going to be the fastest way to create your own prompt that's going to give you what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And let's go ahead and test this action. So what it did was it took the original transcription and it created a post here. Looks like it even added the hashtags, which is pretty cool. What I can do is move on. Now, if there was something about this that you didn't like and you wanted it formatted, or if you wanted it in a different voice, or you wanted to tweak that a bit, again, what I would do is I would go back to the web version of ChatGPT, design the prompt that's going to give you the exact type of output that you want to the best of its ability, and then come back in and put that prompt in. I'm not going to go back and forth and try to correct this text. For this example, I'm going to go ahead and use this. But if you weren't happy with this, that's what I would suggest you do. So now we have the text. So now what I want to do is just to create a Google document with that text in it. And then I'm going to link that back up into Airtable and put it in the folder and really kind of dial in this final bit of the process here. So let's go ahead and jump in here. I'm going to go ahead and create a Google Doc. Again, I'm going to say event. I'm going to say create document from text, pick the accounts, keep moving forward, document name. I'm going to go ahead and use this here, C4. So we'll call it C4, and then we'll call it open API. Then for the contents, what I could do is, and this is really kind of up to you. I'm just going to show you this. I'm going to put a little bracket here and say original transcription. And that's just in case that you want that. Maybe you want to know what it created from. You can always clean these things up. And then you can put ChatGPT. And then we can put what ChatGPT gave us back. And if you want to put some spacing in here, that's fine as well. And then the folder, what we want to do is we want to, see, here's an example, okay? So I don't have the folder. Remember, we want to put this in C4, but in this Zap, we don't have that information. So one thing I need to do before I create this document is I need to look up this row here so I can get that folder. So I'm going to come back here and just add an operation here to find that row. And this is a good process to go through because you can kind of see like the different things that you'll run into and how you might have to tweak a Zap here or a Zap there to really get the final outcome that you want. I'm trying to do this in the most straightforward way, but there's always things that come up, and this is a good way to kind of show you how you navigate some of that. So what we want to do is we want to find a record. We're going to use my Airtable account. We're going to continue forward. We're going to search by field. We got to pick the base. So again, we'll go GPT, automation project, table 1, search by field. We're going to use that CID again, and we're going to search by value. And the value is the file name that we got here. We're going to put that in, so C4. And we don't want to create the row if it doesn't exist. So we'll continue. We'll test that action. Should find that row. So there we go, it found the row. So now we have the folder here. And I am starting to realize something here, which is like I have the folder, but unfortunately I don't have the ID alone. And so that's going to cause an issue when I try to actually create this document. One thing I'm going to do just to make life easier is I'm going to jump over to this Airtable database. I'm also going to add a field here, insert to the right. I'm going to add folder ID, single line text. I'm going to create that column there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that original Zap. Let's go ahead and name this one. Process transcription for ChatGPT. We'll name that one. And then I'm going to go back into this process here. And then when I update that Airtable record, what I want to do is I also want to grab that ID so I can use it later. So remember before we took the URL, but we didn't put that folder ID, and we really need that. It's going to make life a little bit easier. I certainly could try to like take the ID out of the URL, but it's just kind of a pain. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that ID right now, and then I'm going to continue and republish it. Added in the folder ID for easier processing. That way, next time I do it, I have that. Now I'm going to kind of shortcut that process so you don't have to watch me do all that again. I'm just going to take this ID, I'm going to take it, copy and paste it right here. So now I'm going to go back to the transcript for processing. I'm going to go back to this find record here. And then if I retest this action here, we're going to have that folder. that I just added in here. We're gonna have that folder ID. So now you see that folder ID. So now we can continue forward. And now when I create this, I have a folder that I can put, so I can click this, I can click custom. Remember, we don't want to hard code anything. We want to use the ID that we had here. We got that folder ID now. Now I can actually test the action. And what should happen is over here in the C4 folder, we should see a new document here. So I tested the action. We have an error here. So let's take, oh, it looks like I had that root was left in. So you got to be real careful. Go ahead and continue. Let's test that action again. Let's see if it's successful. So the document was created. So now when we come to this folder, we should see that document here. Remember, it's the C4 Open API, so we can click into that. And now what we'll see is that we got the original transcription, and then we have the social media post from that. And now really the only thing left to do is to link that document back up to this original row so that we have that. And then the process is really complete, so we're almost there. Let's go ahead and close this. Let's go ahead and go back to Airtable, update that row, update record, and we're so close. Airtable base, let's pick that base. Again, we can type GPT. So here's ChatGPT, click that, table 1, and that record is the one that we found earlier. So make sure you go to custom here. We're gonna use the row that we found in row 3. There's the ID, you're gonna go ahead and click that. And now the only thing we need to do is we wanna update the copy document URL from the step before. So we've got that here in step 4 here. Let's go ahead and open that up. I like to use the alternate link, we'll click that. Continue, test the action. And then finally, we come over here and now we've got the link. We finalized the entire process. So if I click this, it's gonna take me to that same document. And then we have everything housed in this same spot. And we can also use this audio for another purpose if you want to repurpose that in a different way. Now you have that as well. And so we've really finalized the full loop here. We uploaded the video, we processed it, we created folders, we created the transcription, and then after the transcription was created, we went through this process of sending it to ChatGPT to process it for us. So now all you'd have to do is to publish this, publish it and turn on. And now we've literally published both of those zaps. So if I come back here and I go back to that inbox, I could upload a new file. I'll call it test number 2. And if I upload this, the whole process will run automatically for me from end to end. So just as a note as well, when you're processing some of these things, sometimes Zapier takes a second to run. So if I wanted to process this inbox automatically, I could come over here and just click run, and it's just gonna force that to happen a little bit sooner. So you'll see that it's gonna go ahead and create all that information, and it's just doing that for us now. We have that C5. Now, one thing I can't rush is the process of the transcription. So that's just gonna take a second for it to run. But when it does, it will go ahead and trigger this, and we'll see that final step happen here in just a few seconds. And there you go, you can see that the document was added. And if I click into that, you've got the C5 and then you can see the ChatGPT. Now it's interesting, I sent the same video, and in this case, it's a little bit different. In C5, it says, are you having trouble making sales from your videos? And in this one, it says, are you struggling to get sales from your videos? So that's kind of interesting just how that works out. You'll want to play with that prompt and make sure that that is creating the type of content that you want. So I hope you found that valuable. If you want access to the Zap templates and the Airtable templates, go ahead and check out the community that I linked below in the description of this YouTube video. You can join that community, and I have a free course in there that will link to all of these resources. So that will help you speed up the process of implementing this yourself. I hope you found this video valuable. Make sure to check out the next video. In this next video, I'm gonna show you how to build out a completely customized Airtable database to automate 99% of your workflow. Check out that next video. I go in depth on similar things that I did in this video, but it's really more designed around creating a workflow for your content. Check out that video. I'll see you there. Have a good one.